Hi. Okay, so what we have here now is our fingers, sliders, underarm bolter. Now before we can continue our underarm bolter, we need to start working on some upper shoulder so we can put some more detail in soon. For this reason, I'm going to go to my layers, and I'm going to unhide, let me see, I think upper torso is the one I need. There we go. Had to bear with me because my mouse ball is a little bit of an issuance today, unfortunately. I'll deal with it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is probably lower this down just a tiny bit. It's a little bit high. Make sure I'm on view, not on local, otherwise parts might shoot off into infinity. Okay, that looks fine. I can raise this up into a new position later on if I need to. Now what I need to do is work on the mechanism for this. So I'm going to select this and isolate my selection. Let's move this window over here. It's quite a big selection, as you can see. Now what I need to do is get inside this. So I'm going to select this. Let's do a loop. Control. Oh no, I don't need a control. Let's do a backspace. Top view and zoom. Loop with this one as well. Looks like I've got them all. Get rid of these inside fellows. There we are. Okay, all that's left is just to make sure that we don't have any glaring errors that need to be resolved. Doesn't look like it, so that's cool. So I'm going to select here, control, select by ring, control, select by polygon, and let's make it a little bit larger. There we go. I'm going to clone it to an object, and this is going to be called the upper arm. Let's put PF at the front of that. Okay, now if we find it, it'll just be here. And flip everything. Select by border, control A. Let's bring it out like so. Sadly, we don't get to stretch it this way at the moment, so we'll have to do that the old-fashioned way. Just to grab this, let's bring it out. Grab this one, bring it in that way, then control select again, and scale it up. Need to press shift when I'm scaling it up, nearly forgot. Okay, that gives us this shape here, and I'm just going to bridge it. And then I want to work from these 4 polygons just here, which I can flatten, like so. Maybe bring them up a little bit, let's have a look. There we are, not too much, just a bit. Okay, now looking at this shape, what I'm going to do is grab here, standard extrude, smaller extrude, select these inside parts here, just right click to get out of the extrude again. And with these selected, the scale tool, just bring that out like that. We don't want it to intersect with any of the other pieces, but we do need it quite large like this. Okay, that's fine. I want to exit isolation mode a minute, just so I can kind of see what I'm doing a bit better. I think this actually needs to be up again. I fiddle an awful lot with my models when I'm doing them. Probably wouldn't hurt if I had the rig in place, because if you look, this isn't actually linked to anything yet. So to link them all together so they're in the right place. Looks like my dummies aren't linked yet either. All my pistons. Okay, let's try it now. Does everything move? Yes, good. Okay, next I'm going to rotate this down. Like that. So this is down here. And I can bring that to about there. Okay, so you can see kind of the way this is supposed to work. I've got to avoid this intersection here, which I can do later using rigging. Just wanted to make sure that was going to work then. Right. So, if this is the elbow, just here, we need to have some movement in the upper arm in a kind of back and forth direction. So the way I'm going to do this, because most of the mechanism is hidden anyway, is have a kind of half hemisphere connected to this. So don't worry, it'll all come clear later on. Go up to here, and then hinge from edge. Making sure to pick the correct edge. Okay, and because we want to add slightly more detail to this than we actually have right now, what I'm going to do is make a cylinder on this using auto grid. "22 sides, 1 height segment, convert editable poly," and I'm going to bind this into the actual shape of my object. The reason I'm doing this is because when it comes to actually doing some chamfers, if we use automatic chamfering or any other kind of chamfering, it means that we'll get actual chamfers on this edge here, which makes it look a lot more realistic on these edges. Otherwise we have to build it using edges and splines and it becomes messy. Don't worry if you don't really fully understand what I'm talking about. I'm sure I'll give you many demonstrations during the process of this video. Set. Bridge. Oop, haven't taken out that rear polygon. See? You see, at the moment we have what's known as an ergonomic conflict, yeah? If you look at the shapes that we have, this shape here does not match in with the rest of the shapes, although it's starting to blend in with the shape we have here. So what we have to do is look at a way of basically making this shape here blend between this shape and this shape. That's more of a design challenge than anything else, but if you're working on your own, whether you're a hobbyist or a freelancer or whatever, then a lot of the time you have to make these decisions yourself. Okay, let's just cap those off. Now in the meantime, what I'm going to do is start work on this part, and this is just a simple bevel piece. And what this is going to give the impression of is some sort of restraining or retaining piece. There we go. Now I'm going to grab this polygon here, slide it down to around about here. And let's go to the right hand viewport. And before I do that, I should probably just make it an element rather than an object. Okay. This allows me to kind of line things up a little bit better. It's never an easy thing to do, but it depends whether you're doing it by eye or not, which I am, obviously. Okay. With that lined up, what I'm going to do now is grab this and this. Do probably a little bevel. Bring that up and then in. Up a little bit more. A little bit out, and then a 0 height bevel and right out. Then bring that in. In again. Just keeping in the style that we already have, yeah? We have to believe, when we're building these, that there was a single kind of unified design document for this kind of thing, yeah? Okay, so we've got this part and this part. Why have we done it? Well, let's have a look. Right click out the bevel tool. I'm just going to use the select tool. You may notice the hotkeys are all doing stuff. Up in the top left hand corner, so if you're not sure what I'm doing or what key I'm pressing, just pause for a minute and go and have a look. Okay, this allows me to do things a little bit quicker. I find it quite funny how someone said, you know, your DVDs, you said it was intermediate, this is intermediate. This is kind of beginner stuff. I said to him, alright then, you find a beginner and show him this model and get him to recreate it without the tutorial and without any training. Case rested. Right, let's get rid of these. Not for any reason except that if they're out the way, it makes the model look a bit tidier for me. We're not getting rid of any verts or anything, we're just cleaning it a bit. Just visually for the artist's benefit, not for the end user. There we go. So that gives us this mechanism here. Now you probably think to yourself, well, why have we got this? Simple, it allows us to do, well, it allows us to cover things with detail. That's what we're doing. We're layering detail on top of more detail. We're giving the impression that there's, you know, parts there to control gears, parts there to control sub-engine assemblies and things like that. That's part of your job when you're doing modelling of this kind of nature of a science fiction style. Okay, let's chamfer this out a little bit. And then if I shrink, right now I'm going to bevel this by local normal, reduce the outline amount, there we go. And you see now what we have is what appears to be a cable or chain mounting inside this, yeah? Hopefully you're starting to get the idea now. Okay, let's go back and select this part. Now, I wasn't especially happy with this bit here, but it was a kind of temporary measure. Let's just cap it. And then I'm going to grow it out. So if I grow it out, I can then delete it and recap it. Once it's recapped, I can do something I like with it instead, whatever that may be. Okay. Bearing in mind no one's actually going to see this piece, really. You can, you know, go hog wild if you really want. or you can conserve polygons, or you can do what you want. I mean, if you look what I'm doing here, what I'm doing is making kind of internal ratchet area. There you go. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit too big for this. That's okay. Just F4 so I can see where it intersects. Just about there. Now what I'll do is give it a 0 length. And then pull it over like this. And it'll basically sit on top of this part of it like a cover. Now the good thing about this is that if I then grab this part, start rotating it, you see how the gear mechanism there, it looks like we've now got a drivetrain assembly actually working the elbow. Just here, yeah? Okay, so now on this part on the top here, because we do have to clean it because it's, you know, sometimes you get a part that you want to sort out. Okay, what I'm going to do here, select this piece, now got a couple of choices in direction and the way I can go from here. I can hinge from edge down this way, like that, or I can hinge it in this way, like that. Personally, I think the best option is going to be just to hinge them both in 90 degrees off that one. Click OK. Now what I'm going to do is probably select here and do a quick selection of these parts. There we go. Reason being, I want to make my model look a little bit more interesting than it is at the moment. Right, back here. And delete that. Next. Bridge. And with this area here, what I'm going to do is just cap it and insert it. Now if I insert both these pieces together like this, and then I can kind of forget about this inset piece, all by accident like. You'll notice the vert's gone too. This means I can now extrude this area up, and it gives me a much nicer shape. And inside here I could have perhaps some hoses or any other parts that I think are going to work. Now what I'm going to do is actually add in, I think, a redundant piston, because you can never have too many redundant pistons. This one's going to do absolutely nothing at all. It's just going to look like a shock absorber, which is what it's going to pretend to be. So for this we're going to have a cylinder. Just going to draw it out up here, and then bring down the first part. Once I've zoomed in, I'm going to change the radius a little bit, convert it, and get rid of the back poly. Now I'm going to add it to this piece. And then just a case of bridging some areas here. Because once you've bridged it in, you can then cap it. You can't actually cap it until that's been done. Okay, next. Got to decide where this thing's going to go to, which in my opinion is probably going to be down here somewhere. So, actually no, I'll have it coming straight down. It's easier for a start. Let's just bevel it. And I'll have the piston with the thinner end at the top this time. There we go. Now, as it's redundant, we just make it a single unit like we did with the other one that we did when we first started making our power fist, or nearly started making it. But we're dealing with a small part, so be careful, because you've got to be careful exactly how far you extrude and how far you inset and so on. It's too far. Okay. And then down. And I'm going to go straight through here. Oops. And I'll just use the move tool to move them down a bit further. Because what I'm going to do is cut through these in just a few moments. Okay, so we have our basic piece. I'm going to go to my left viewport and isolate the selection. So we can see where we need to make cuts now. So I'm going to select these pieces. Just want to make sure they're all selected as well. Now it's interesting, if you look, it's a bit too far along, so I'm going to have to grow it a bit more. And then move it along a little bit, which is something I can do even though it's bound into the shape. Move it along to about there. Then I can bring this down to there. Okay, as long as there's a gap here, otherwise it's going to intersect with the main body. Okay, let's go into our viewport here. And this will allow me to do some cutting. So let's have a look. I'll use a quick slice, I think. I'm going to cut from here to here. Here. Let's have a look. I don't want to cut them all at this point, you see. It can make a bit of a mess of your model. Actually, it might be easier just using the cut tool rather than quick slice, if I think about it for about 3 seconds. Actually, no, I'll just use quick slice. I'm just being stupid. Never mind, ignore me. 3 sheds short of a shed. Let's see them. So here. Then here. And then here. Okay. Now, as you see, we've created some extra verts here. We can sort that out in just a moment. So what I'm going to do is just detach this temporarily. Or I can even isolate this piece of selection. All I have to do there is just click the hide unselected button. Right. Just exit out a quick slice for a minute and come in closer to this. And this will allow me to trim off the parts of the model that I don't want. So these ones. Let's see, and these ones. Let's see. No, not those ones. No, it looks like I got it right before I deleted those. Yeah, that seems to be fine. Okay, so now what I have to do then is just isolate this selection again. There we go. And then I can start getting rid of some of these edges. This one, this one, this one, and this one. Do a quick backspace. Then I can get rid of any isolated verts that I don't need. Okay, that's fine. Exit isolation mode and unhide all. Oh, I'm in orthographic again. There we go. Orthographic, and I've got the wrong part selected. Life is grand. Right, select this, unhide all. There we go. And let's do a bit of tidy up work over here again, so I'm going to isolate it. Okay. Straight through the middle of this one. Grow it. Move it a little bit this way. There we are. And now I can get rid of some of these polygons that I don't need, so that I can bond it into place. So this one to this one, I can bridge. You may notice that the polygon's broken, which is kind of what I need. Otherwise we're going to get bent polygons, which is not a good thing. You don't have to do it this way, it's just, it's 6 and 2 3s really. It depends whether or not you want to go to the effort of doing all the chamfers later on. I mean, the champing is an important part, but I'll show later on, as long as I get time, the various different methods of chamfering. Okay, let's just cap that. There, and as you can see, it's now bonded into the shape. Down here, I have a leftover polygon, which can go away. There we are. Exit isolation mode again. Right, and now you can see, hopefully, how the arm assembly actually works. Now, I think I'll add a bit more detail to this piston just here, so I'm going to isolate it again. And just see if there's any space for any more actual detail now, I've come to think of it. Probably is. There we go. Don't want the inside ones there. Connect. Now you'll notice this is a bit of a jaggedy line, so we'll just straighten it. See, the thing is, places where there's a lack of detail will stand out in your model like a very, very sore thumb. So it always pays to put a little bit of extra detail in when you can. Just making sure I'd got local normal turned on there. There we go. Just minor things. But they add in the maker's marks and the various things that we need to see in order to make our model more effective for what we want. Okay, now at the back here, what I need to do is make a hose come out of here, and I don't, again, need a dynamic hose. I need a redundant hose. Redundant hoses are way more useful in this respect. So let's get, first of all, rid of this, like so. And we need to build a place for the redundant hose to actually come in. So let's say probably here. And I'm going to hinge my edge just to open it out a bit once I've inserted. Too many segs in that. That should do it. Now just a case of straightening up this part. And what you can do as well, once I've flattened this part, is make it look a bit nicer. Just going to make sure that is flat. And then we can round this out if we want, just to, like I say, mix up our shapes a bit. It's all part of making sure our models are ergonomically sound. There we go, just round that. Okay, now over here, I'm going to have a cylinder, which I'll pull out from. Just going to check the distance about here. I'm going to bring it up in a moment. Grow, Control I, delete. Bring it up to about there. And this will give this shape at the back here, when it's seen, which will be very, very rarely, a lot more interest. It'll make it less jarring as a flat, empty area. I always tell people who are modelling, you want to really, really avoid flat, empty areas unless you're adding a ton of texture to it. And even then, with next-gen games and the way that they're developed, you should really be building the detail that goes in there anyway. You can't rely on your poor texture artist to do everything for you. Okay. I'll bevel this in. And like I say, we're making a hose today. Good thing about this is now that I've attached this, we can actually go inside our piece, like so. Now what I'm going to do is give it a 0 length bevel. I can bring that down here before it comes out. I add the chamfers a lot of the time like this before I actually have to go and start manually kind of chamfering or automatically chamfering edges, simply because it's kind of an old habit of mine, and also I like to really have a lot more control over the placement of things like this. Okay. Now I'm going to hinge from edge, and I'm going to pick my hinge. It's going to be the bottom hinge in this case, which you can just see there. And do I want 12 segments? Probably not. I'll do 9. Okay, now I can extrude it manually down. Just use the slider control till I get it to about there. Okay, now what I can do is just grow it. Not all the way, just to about there. Then I can select this part. Actually no. Let's see, I'll shrink that a little bit. There. Okay, then I can pull this along to here so it's in the right place. Now it's important to make sure that this part fits into this part when we're done. Make a hose jack end like this. and we're just going to take it down until it intersects. You can see where it intersects just there. Although we can line it up. There we go. We can line it up a lot better in just a moment. There. Okay, next, I'm going to take this part, delete it, this part, delete it. And then it's just a case of capping there to there. And then bridge. Well, not bridge, cap, sorry. It was bridging there to there and then cap. Okay, that gives us this area here. Now we've got this piece here, and frankly I would be ashamed to leave it the way it is, so I'm going to insert it. And this is, this is over detailing, as I so frequently call it, but it's an important part of the process. Extrude this out. Edge mode. Come up with a nice shape that we like. This one's more complicated simply because we're going to have to scale it once we've done this one. It's not quite wide enough, as you can see. It gives it the royal family chin, as I like to call it. A little bit of a weak chin. Shouldn't have had sex with all those cousins. There we go. There, that's much nicer. Now at the top here. Need to recess this recess this panel a little bit. My internal volume's a bit screwed there. There we go. Check that. Yeah, that's looking okay. Could possibly do with recessing a panel in here as well. We'll have to see how it looks though, because of the way that the polygons are arranged here. There we go. And what I'll do with this one, as an extra added bonus cheat, is then bring it forward a bit. Which gives us a rather nice recessed panel with lots of space down the side of it. There we are. Okay, so we've got that piece put in next. Anything else I need to add to this? Well, we do need a piece to go on the back here. Just so that we know where its angle of rotation is going to be, apart from anything. Isolate selection. Now then, most, when I say most, of the Warhammer kind of style dreadnoughty things have leg pistons, but you never actually see the way the arm mechanism works. So, thankfully for me, I have a fairly imagination. All we need really from this is kind of a massive ball joint. So the trick is, or rather the question is, are we going to have it inside this, or are we going to kind of this be in the innie, or is the innie going to be over here, if you know what I mean? And I think I'm going to have it come into this. So what I need to do is build a sphere. Auto grid 32 sides seems about adequate. I'm going to drag it out from, let's say, here. That'll allow us to maintain quite a size on it. Okay, next what I'm going to do is hemisphere it. 0.5. Convert it. And then turn it over. 180 degrees. Then I'm going to drag it out like this and make a nice copy of it. Now when I made a copy of that, did I instance it? No, good. This is now going to be called Power Fist upper arm. And it's going to have this attached to it. Before it does though, loop that, control select by this, grow, shrink, delete. Okay, no, needs to be shrunk a bit more. Delete, there we go. This is quite a long part, isn't it? Oh well, you can always tell when I'm getting into the whole modelling kind of thing. Unfortunate for you guys, if you don't like modelling. But then again, if you don't like modelling, you shouldn't have bought the set. Right. And if you didn't buy the set, where did you get it from? And if you got it from where I think you got it from, you're a very bad person. Go and buy it. It doesn't cost much. In fact, if you PM me and tell me you've seen the error of your ways, I'm sure I'll be extra nice. Right, now you can see we've got an intersection there, which we need to kill straight away. So let's go over here and sort this out. Just in case of bringing this forward a bit, which isn't too hard, just loop that. Control, grow, and just bring it forward. There we go. Right, go over here. Now this part here needs to be flipped, and then I can start, you know, putting pieces together and making it look nice again. So we're going to bridge that, and then I'm not going to bother bridging anything else, I'll just cap it. There we go. Because when we chamfer that edge, it'll look really nice. Now then, there's this great big triangle just there, which is making me suspicious that things did not work out the way they were supposed to. Let's kill it. Before we do though, because 3ds Max can be a bit of a silly thing, let's save as a workbench. The reason I do this is sometimes when you get this and you start hitting the old delete key, 3ds Max can throw a tantrum of the most amazing level. I mean, if you look, I'm hitting delete galore on this and it's taking ages to get rid of. Which can only make me assume there was some sort of mad error in my polygon somewhere. I'll just click delete until it goes away there. There we are. Now then, if we look over here, we've got another intersection that needs to be dealt with. And let's see. We're in luck because I can just bring this forward this time, like so. Otherwise it would have been a case of editing it slightly more carefully. Sorry if my voice has gone all gruff and tough, by the way. It's just a bit dry. I'm probably in the need of liquid refreshment. There's another one. See that? Just there. Now this time what I'm going to do is grab these like that. Just a marquee grab and delete. And that makes me wonder, are all these verts all welded all nicely or not? Let's have a look. They weren't. Sacre bleu. Lucky we caught that in time, isn't it? Okay, now let's cap this. And then Control A to select all and just do another quick weld. And you'll notice we've got rid of a few other stray verts that were just loitering around with intent. Okay, now we're going to align this to that. Now I'm going to wonder where it's gone. Interesting. There, now it's in the right place. Silly sausage. Okay, now what I'm going to do is isolate the selection again. And I can work on this part. And this is the main upper chassis 2 PF arm mount. Okay, now exit isolation mode again, just for a second, and hide upper torso. And let's see, can we unhide rig? Have a quick look at, no. There, scaffold, power fist, arm, that's what we need. Now you can see where this is all going in at the moment. So what I need to do now is start housing this inside this little beauty here. So what I'm going to do, start hollowing this out properly. Okay. I'll take this out as well, just so I can see inside it. I can always reduplicate it should I need to, so that's not really too much of an effort. Okay, you can see kind of how the additional level of detail just kind of bang, smacks into that like a tree. Let's check the shoulder mechanism here. What I'm going to have to do is do a few more links now. So this is now going to be linked to this. This is in turn going to be linked to this. And now we can basically control the entire object and just move it in and out using this pivot thing here. A bit further back. There, to about there. Got to be careful because I don't want this to overlap out. We can actually allow additional bulk in the top of the arm if we need it. So I'm going to have some overlap just there. And you know what? I'm not going to feel any remorse while I have it. Okay, now over here then. I'm going to loop that, control select by this, grow, shrink, shrink, delete, border, cap. And this will give me my simple internal mount this is going on. We won't see anything else here. I'm not going to sit and cry about the detail that we're not going to see, because I'm not building a real engine. I know some of you are disappointed at that. I know you all fantasize about going off and building your own bloody great big dreadnought and stamping all your old school bullies in it. You'll have to wait. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's about there, and just delete the back of it. So now we have this mechanism inside here. And for the moment, well, this part of the arm is complete. It's not a case of for the moment, it just is. Could possibly do with sinking this down a little bit more. Let's get rid of our thing there. Put that there. Okay, that fits better. So I need to be able to get this arm up and about. And ideally I'd like to be able to see some of the detail from under here as well. Okay, so that concludes the basic kind of power fist system. I think I will just quickly close up this area just here. Quite nice because it actually fits in with the rest of the mechanism for the arm pretty well. There we go. And that'll kind of fit in with the actual gear train that goes onto the side of the arm in style. Okay, so we're going to leave this here, and in the next part we're going to come back and we're going to do even more power fist related, well, shoulder related things. And I think actually I'm going to rotate this up a little bit so it looks nicer. There we go. Okay, see you in the next bit. Bye bye for now.